Hey, folks. Hey, Jill. I see you there. We are live. It's lunch with Mel, and I should have reapplied my lipstick. It's kind of a disaster. That's okay. You're just gonna have to survive looking at my imperfect lips. I know that's going to be a struggle. Good to see, folks. It is a lovely, if somewhat chilly, Friday the 13th here, um, coming to you from partially sunny New Brunswick. Hope you guys are having a fabulous day. Um, I'm having a pretty decent day. Jill and I are currently kind of having a bit of a period of mourning that it comes and goes, quite honestly, for what we left behind, what we our lives in Massachusetts. One of the things I think when people move to other countries for safety reasons or whatever is I don't recall whenever I hear people talk about it, I don't really recall them talking about the period of mourning as much. And maybe a lot of people that move to other countries are doing it like as a positive step of moving toward a new thing. But for us, in many regards, it was simply just moving away from a thing and toward limbo. Um, Maybe this is just homesickness. This is what people talk about when they talk about being homesick. I don't know, but kind of where we're at right now. Um, it's interesting, Monique, that it's your husband's favorite day is uh, is Friday the 13th. Um, I'm kind of curious why that is. For me, it's just a day. It's not like a favorite day or anything like that. So I'm kind of curious why it's his favorite day. I wish you could too, Dharma. Um, they actually made that a little bit harder recently to get refugee status in Canada. Canada is like the hardest country to get into in the world, quite honestly. Maybe not the world, um, but it's like I think it's in the top 5 hardest countries to get into. Um, but there are tons of other countries. In fact, I think I talked about this last week a little bit. Like there's a very real possibility that Jill might not be able to get residency status in Canada. And Canada currently does not have digital nomad visas available either. So um, we're actually like looking around like what other countries could do have this. Um, maybe home base would be in Canada, but it might not be. Like maybe we spend a bunch of time somewhere else as well. We shall see. Um, it's it's an interesting time, man. Those people that said may like, I remember growing up, like people say like they sort of joke about the "May you live in interesting times" sort of thing. Um, I was it was like a joke, and now it's like, damn it, I feel like that actually was a curse, and I feel like there's people in my past. I think that like I need to go talk to. I feel like did you lay this curse on us? Um, anyway, yes, it is. Yeah, a little bit too interesting times. And hey, Amy, and also hi, Len. I missed saying hi to you above. Okay, Monique says 13 is his favorite number. When he asked me to marry him, his only request would be on Friday the 13th. When he asked me the only Friday the 13th of the 2010 passed, we were married May of 2011. May Friday 13th, 2011. Oh, that's really cute, actually. I like that. That's, that's really sweet. That's kind of neat. Um, so yeah, so where was I going with all this? Anyway, he just was on my brain. Um, and then don't even get me started on what it's like to try to get a mortgage in a new country. Um, Suffice to say, it is not simple. Countries like to make sure that your money is legit, and so it has to age and so on and so forth. And if it doesn't, and then you don't have tax records from that country to show, then the number of lending institutions that will work with you diminish rapidly. So it's just like, wow, this is like all sorts of levels of bullshit. So anyway, that kind of makes you mourn things a little bit more. Like are those just things, Monique, that aren't available in Poland, or are they like prescriptions that you need to get? Feel free not to answer if you don't want to. I'm just curious what kind of products you'd have shipped once a month. Um, that's where everything's always tricky too, like getting new prescriptions cross border, which I need to start working on for my prescriptions. I got kind of bulked up before I left, um, but I do need to get some more. But anyway, um, cross border moves notwithstanding, um, it's a good day to be in Canada, and I am emotionally supporting and rooting for everybody who's going to be getting some getting some of their protesting on tomorrow on the 14th, and or boycotting any attention being paid to the um, I don't know, what do you call it when a leader has their stupid little parade with their tanks and stuff like that, their dick helicoptering parade or whatever. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I used to work in this one job, and we would make jokes about like all of the male VPs, how they would come into a meeting where we were getting shit done, and despot parade. We would actually make jokes about like they would come in, say their piece, make a mess, and then we would all like mime slapping a dong on the table, kind of thing. That's what they're always doing. Um, anyway, with that lovely visual aside, what was I going to talk about today? I like put it in the description. Oh yeah, I was going to chat a little bit about show you guys sort of where I am with my hair products for sure, amp energy drink. Oh, okay, cool, Monique. Hopefully your future trips into the United States are easy and pain free. It's not like a fun time to go crossing the border. Um, so I think a bunch of folks probably have seen I've been talking about the ads I fired up. I'm doing like this test where I started 14 ads at once to see how they were going to work, and I'm going to just kind of give you guys a little bit of a view into how they're doing. I think it's kind of fun to do this and to keep up with it. Just bringing up all of the correct screens. And I have shown this before. I don't think I showed this last week, but let's keep the info flowing. Sorry, Monique. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. I'm sure it's on your mind already. Yeah, so there was 14 that I made. 6 of them I turned off, and 8 of them are still going. They have slightly too high CPCs, but I'm not really fretting about that right now. I'm more worried about just about conversion. Sort of the bonus of having a really long series. If I can get good conversion, then I can weather a high CPC. Although they are now all 30 or below on average. And I think in general, they're all trending down. Okay, so some of them are trending a little back up again. But a bunch of them were up above 30 before. So I'm pretty happy to see that the highest is now 30. And I have actually scaled a few of them up to $15 a day, and one of them down, no, 2 of them down to $5 a day that just really weren't working that well. And I kind of want to just let them trickle along to a given audience to see how they're going. So over the period, I started them on May 26th. Day before yesterday, I actually had my first day where collectively these ads got better than 10 pages read per click, like just like the hair of their chinny chin chin. It's a little bit difficult to make assessments right now on ad performance because Amazon's data is so far behind. Let me actually scooch this like this to make it bigger. There we go. And you can really see this in some places. Like if I look at this particular report and then I go, into the ads, and then so we can see the ad performance here, and then I go look at products. Products should show the same graph, but it doesn't. It looks like the last time the data for this particular section was properly updated was the 9th. 2594 pages read, and then the 9th here, 2594. Okay, yep. So that is the last day that was up to date. Everything else is all not up to date. And yesterday, the 11th was actually down below 2K when I looked at the graph for yesterday. The 11th did not look good. So I'm like, it's making it a little more difficult because I can't really make any like snap decisions. It's all like, well, I'll check in 2 or 3 days and then go examine the data and see what's coming from it. But like I said, 2 days ago on the 11th, it got above that magical 10 pages read per click number. Super happy about that. And that's actually one of the things I talk about a lot with ads is that having a stable of well performing ads is really important because at any given time, there's individual ads in here that are dipping, some that are surging, and whatnot. And I'm looking for that like over at that average. It's like the stock market, right? Like invest in a lot of things so that you can sort of like smooth out all the ups and downs and try to just move in one positive direction. Um, the cool thing is if I look at my KDP reads for the first 5 books of this series, you can see that before I started running ads, I had like the tail end of an ad in late May, late April, early May. And then there was a period with no ads running, and it dipped down as low as only 238 pages read across these 5 books. And now, just shy of 3 weeks after starting running these ads, I'm up at 5,800 pages read for the series. So not profitable yet, although I'm also getting a lot of sales. Um, Periodically, there are people that go through and buy like every book in this series, and given that there's 16 books, it's a decent chunk. And a bunch of people have actually veered off and are reading side series that branch off from this main series too. So that part's pretty cool too. Learning them, are they sales ads or are they traffic ads, Dharma? But they're probably sales ads, right? Yeah, what that means is that you're not getting enough conversions. It's not about the audiences, it's about the number of conversions that you're getting per impression that's causing it to be learning limited. Yeah, probably because your budgets are $5 a day. Because the learning, basically, you have to get a certain number of sales within, I think, 7 days. And I want to say it's like memory serves, it changes. It's like 20 or 30 sales within 7 days. And at $5 a day, that's probably not likely that you're getting anywhere close to that. So it's a factor of your budget and just that conversions are a bit low for direct selling books. So it can make a lot of ads actually have a really hard time getting out of learning. And lately, it they've seemed to have either increased the number of sales, or decreased the time frame, because I've actually run into a bunch of direct sales ads as well that just never seem to come out of the learning phase. I actually had some ads for this one author that I ran at $50 a day for a week, and we couldn't get the ads out of learning phase. It's kind of obnoxious. So yeah, so something has changed on the Facebook side as far as ads coming out of learning phase. Yeah, I know. I get that. I do get that, Dharma. That being said, like ads in learning phase can still convert. It's not the end of the world. And some people can get their ads. Some people actually, the way that their audience seems to sit, their ads only really convert while they're in learning. I know a lot of people are like, as soon as my ads come out of learning, I turn them off and make new ones because they only really seem to work in learning. So it can be kind of wonky. So anyway, series line go up. So thus far, I'm pretty happy with where everything is. This series and the significantly associated series are now making up over $100 a day. I don't know that puts me into profitability yet with this particular set of ads. 10, 15, so 30, 40, 50, 55, 65, 75, 80. Okay, yeah. I'm up over $100 a day most time now, so I've actually moved into profitability with these ads. Set back a bit by doing such a big test. I basically spent $400 on ads that went nowhere, higher than normal for me. But again, I ran like a test with like some creative I've never tried before, and I knew was kind of like a risk. And they didn't pan out. Four of the 6 ads I turned off. Sorry, 3 of the 6 ads I turned off were ones I did that test with. So I really could kind of look at it as like I blew $200 on ads that didn't work and $200 on a crazy test. But so it took me a little bit longer to move into daily profitability on these ads. Right now, the furthest read through that I can see having come from these ads that I'm running is book 10 of a 16-book series as well. And also, interestingly, I've now moved past the 2-week window on attribution. So attribution only counts activities for 2 weeks. So if someone actually picked up one of these books on May 26th and started reading it, right around the 9th or the 10th is when any future activity, reading of the book they bought, read through, all of that stops being tracked um, at that point. So it limits the how high things will climb in attribution. With having such a long series, attribution is at best only ever going to show up to book 10. Probably for most people, attribution is really only going to show read through to book 5. However, the KDP numbers, of course, I should anticipate that as read through continues, things will grow. And the reason, one of the ways I can tell that read through hasn't gotten much further than book 5 or 6 is if I go and add all of my books all the way to book 16 in this series, it gets like a little bit above 6,000 pages read. So right now, all of the reading is happening in the beginning of the series, and read through hasn't kicked in a whole lot yet. So that's pretty normal too. Um, I mean, it's either slow growth, low spend ads, and slower growth, plus beating the streets and doing non-paid advertising, or it's a bunch of money on ads. It's really like you spend your time getting sales, or you spend time making money. You can spend money to get sales. It's, it's honestly to my knowledge, the only two ways to do this. It's time or money. Is that one ad per book or different ads for one book? These are all ads for the same book. So it was 14 ads for book one of the 16 book series. And I have since branched out. I'm doing I took my winning 3 ads that work the best out of this not patch. And I'm running to my omnibus. And then I'm also considering doing the full test of the, not all of them, but of the 8 that I kept, duplicating all of those into a UK app as well. So we'll see how that pans out as well. But now that I've moved into daily profitability, I would expect that in 2 weeks I should be doubling my money, maybe 3. Although we are moving into the slow time of year. Well, actually, we're pretty much square in the middle of the slow time of the year. So it's possible that I might take a little bit longer to see that doubling the money profitability kick in. So good stuff all around though. I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. Some other interesting things that are coming down the pike. If you may be seeing this, you may not have seen this. Um, you might not, you might see it on like sales ads and not traffic ads. But Facebook has changed the way they're doing their what they call their recommended ads and all that. So if I look at one of these, their audiences, their recommended audiences. If I look at one of these, what we'll see is my audience sections all in one block. And Facebook's like, hey, do you want to switch to Advantage Plus audience? And if I was to run an Advantage Plus audience, what they do is you have the 2 boxes, audience controls, where you set your country and a couple of fixed things. And then the suggestion section, everything that you put in here is a suggestion. And if you're on the Advantage Plus on a sale or on a traffic ad, and some people's sales ads, you might see this thing that says switch to original audience options. And it's like, oh, but you really want to use our Advantage Plus one. And you click use original, and you have the one where you have more control over the targeting. The Advantage Plus stuff is where basically it ignores gender, it ignores age, ignores all the interests you put in, it kind of does what it wants. The amount it ignores those, of course, varies. But something they've done that's a little bit different now is if you're on the original audience version, the old school one, this link now says switch to recommended setup, and the Advantage Plus, which you can tell you're in it because it says Advantage Plus on. This is actually just one big box now. So the whole thing of like, hey, if it's 2 boxes, it's the new system, and if it's 1 box for audiences, the old system, well, that doesn't apply anymore because on some ads now, even the new system is also 1 box. And the funny thing is they have this rather interesting language down here. Further limit the reach of your ads. That's how you switch back to the old setup. And then we hit old setup, and we're back here. Now the interesting thing is that even when I switch back to the old setup, Advantage Plus is still on, because a bunch of these different sections have a suggestion toggle. So right now, my age and gender was just a suggestion. I have to toggle both of those off before I move out of it being an Advantage Plus audience. So that's I don't know what this means. Oh, okay, that's just like what kind of industry you're in. So that's what you have to do now to actually get the system to switch back to the original audience section. The other thing that they do as well is they've changed placements. So let me just get rid of this message. I have Advantage Plus placements turned off right now. Um, and it used to be that you have like this sort of a toggle. Let me actually show what it used to look like. And probably still looks like for a lot of people. It's going to by default be like this, say Advantage Plus placements. And if you mouse over it, you'll get an edit link and you can click that and then you'll get the option to turn on manual placements. And then you can go down and choose all your manual placements for your ads. Now, what happens is, and I let's see, include all available placements. Right. So it looks like this. Placements, Advantage Plus on. Don't worry about it. We got you. So you got to hit show more settings. And then you have to go into placement controls and then go in here and pick your placements. And then once you do that, it will turn the Advantage Plus off that was on before. Another interesting thing too, though, is you can actually you can turn off skippable ads. I haven't played with this yet. I don't know exactly what the deal is with this. Oh, sorry, that was no. There we go. It just jumped on me. Like, why did it go down here? Exclude skippable ads. Okay, yeah, that is what I thought it was. I just suddenly it jumped me down to suggested ads, and I didn't realize it moved me to a whole new section. Anyway, so if you're doing any in-stream video ads, you can make it so your ads aren't skippable, which will cost you a little bit more for display, but might get you better conversions. So those are two big changes. They're basically just making it a little bit harder to turn off the AI features. In the placement system and in the audience system. And I don't really like it because they're dark patterns, and I hate it when people use dark patterns. Dark patterns are when they use tricks to obfuscate and make it difficult to do what you want to do. Things like switch to recommended setup and turn this off, make it so that the button to actually make the change is the gray one, and the button to not make a change is the one that's coded to look like the thing you want to click. That's a dark pattern. I hate dark patterns. Any company that does dark patterns is being scummy. So they're doing more and more of it now, basically. The fact that, like, you turn off Advantage Plus, and you're like, oh, okay, I did it. Nope. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe I did in this case. Nope, I didn't. Advantage Plus audience is still on. The new system, by the way, jumps around like crazy. After they made changes to this page, and like you make a change and it's doesn't stay where you're looking. It drives me bonkers. So you're like, oh, I made the change. Nope, because they left this on and they left this on for me. I had to turn them off to actually turn Advantage Plus audiences off. It's frustrating. So there you have it. There's my rant on that. I did post a little video about that yesterday as well. I thought, a lot more people usually show up for this or watch the replays of Lunch with Mal. So thought I'd share you there. Yep, and another round of Facebook scummy. That is very true. So that's kind of my thoughts on some ads thoughts right now. It is definitely right now. Amazon data is really behind. So data that you see today may not be the same tomorrow. I'm seeing that in both KDP reporting and in attribution reporting. So it's one of these Amazon, like, they have something go down. They need a little bit of extra computational power. What do they to slow down on? They slow down on processing KU reads. That being said, KU reads are probably like a massive undertaking to process those. I wouldn't be shocked if the amount of infrastructure it takes to process and manage KU reads eats up the lion's share of the profitability from KU. Do the new settings for better if you have a pixel ad as opposed to traffic? Not sure what you mean by it. I think you got a typo and it's making it so I can't understand what you mean. I should be able to figure it out, but I can't. Do they perform better? Is that what you mean? I'll let you fill that in. I'm not sure what it is. Work better. Yes, in general, Facebook's AI powered stuff does work better if you're doing a sales ad, not specifically a pixel ad. Well, anything where the actual conversion event can be tracked will work better with anything where the actual conversion event can be tracked will work better with the new AI targeting stuff than without. The problem with traffic ads is that Facebook doesn't know if they convert, right? It doesn't know if you get reads. It doesn't know if you make sales with the traffic ad. The only thing it knows is that, hey, it was easy to get these clicks and it was hard to get these clicks. But it doesn't know maybe these clicks convert like crazy, and these clicks never convert. But it doesn't know that. So if it can get them more easily, it will prioritize and focus on getting those kinds of clicks. With an offsite conversion event or even an on-site conversion event, but like a lead ad, a traffic ad, sorry, a lead ad, a sales ad, or something like a landing page view ad, um, Facebook can actually track the actual event that's happening via the pixel, and then it can optimize for that. So Advantage Plus ads can work well with sales ads. I'm actually running a couple right now where the Advantage Plus one did win for sales ads, but I always run both. I'll test Advantage Plus with some settings, and I'll test non-Advantage Plus with some settings for sales ads, and then the ones that do the best I keep. And in my experience, non-Advantage Plus, so the old style of targeting, wins more than Advantage Plus actually. Um, Bacom says, "What does it mean when my result rate is really low? I'm having a hard time getting it as high as 2%." Contemporary romance, huge audience. Okay, so first off, for contemporary romance, 1.8 to 2.3 million is a small audience. In my genre, that's huge. In contemporary romance, it's actually a pretty small audience. In any Facebook ad you run, your audience has to be over a million, ideally over 2 million. So you're actually at the low end of audience size, and pretty low for contemporary romance. Um, what kind of targeting are you doing? Are they author targets? Are they genre targets? Are you targeting TV shows? And are you using an Advantage Plus audience or not? There's a lot of settings in here that could be coming into play. Generally speaking, a low result rate. Are you narrowing down then by novels and books? And are you using an Advantage Plus audience or not? Generally speaking, a low result rate means that the people that are seeing your ad are not interested in your ad. They're scrolling on by. They're not clicking. Um, so the targeting is off or the creative is off. It's one of the two sides of the coin, which isn't super helpful because the coin only has two sides. But usually I start with audience. Well, I mean, if the creative is somewhat on target, like the right audience should do a little bit better. You know, about contemporary romance, all right. I'm still waiting to know if it's an Advantage Plus audience or not. Because if it's an Advantage Plus audience, it's going to ignore everything you put in and show it to whoever it wants to. But basically, the end result is that either it's the wrong people or it's the right people and the wrong creative. If it's the wrong people, it's just the wrong people, right? But it can also be the right people and the wrong creative. That's doing that too. Yeah, contemporary romance should give you at least like a bare minimum of 6% result rate. Uh, have you tried just for kicks, just only showing your ad to contemporary romance? Just only doing that? I'd be curious to what your creative looks like as well. Oh, cool. I'm glad you figured it out. I'm curious what you figured out for everybody else's edification, but I'm glad that you did. So, oh, Linda. Okay. Hi. Cool. I do have trouble tracking everybody's different names that they use everywhere. So I'm actually on a quest right now for a new editor for my books. Actually, one of the folks that I sent a sample to is actually here. And it's really quite interesting sending the same text to different editors. The amount of overlap is actually very small. What they'll send back. All of the editors I've sent to thus far are less brutal than my prior editor. They're actually kind of like, oh wow, I would expect to see twice as many things. I'm like, maybe my prior editor was just like super OCD. Which, Jen, if you're listening, you'd be the first person to tell me that you kind of are. So, no insult intended by that. I don't mind super OCD editing, but also I didn't give these editors like any direction. I'm just like, here's some text, do what you're going to do with it. So they might have also been trying to be gentle with me, so I didn't like run screaming to the hills. I didn't want to call you out, Len. Identify who the person was, but yeah, of course you could have been meaner. I can take it. Um, and but like I said, it was really quite interesting that the neither editor had more than 50% overlap with other editors. But one thing was like really consistent with with all the editors that have gotten back to me thus far, at least, um, is that I must be like rare in that I write a distant third person narrative. Very rarely will I tell you what the character's feeling. If you want to know what the character's feeling, their physical movements and the actual words they're saying are really the only way you're going to find it out. I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, um, do like a close narrative where the character's feelings are in the narrative. If it's not in quotes. It's very unlikely to actually reveal any information about how the character's feeling. Um, because I write my scenes so that it's like you're watching a movie. You know, you have the dialogue and you have, I mean, you get less of it obviously because I actually don't describe physical movements that much, but it's like it's a glimpse of the physical movements of a stage, a little tiny bit of stage direction, not direction, but stage information, and then it's just all text. And it was interesting. I'm like, man, does everybody write like a much closer narrative than I do these days? Because both of them are like, what are the characters feeling here and stuff like that. I'm like, it's in the words, you know? Which I thought was neat. Um, so there was that, and the other thing that what was the other thing that jumped out at me? Oh yeah, I'm very light on scene description and setting description. If I say it's the bridge of a starship, I'll probably never tell you anything about what the bridge of that starship looks, other than the fact that there's a hollow tank somewhere, probably like a holographic 3D holographic tank, and there's a forward display, and people are sitting at consoles, and there's a captain's chair. It's basically they're all the bridge of the Enterprise. Is how I see most of them in my mind. But what I learned a long time ago actually is that um, with a lot of the readers I write for, if I say Starship Corridor or if I say bridge, and I've actually talked about this, they all instantly have their own view of it in their head, and I can't actually change it by describing it to them. So I just stopped trying. I just let people picture it on their own. Mostly first person, lots of snarky internal dialogue. I do actually have some of my characters. They have AIs embedded in their heads, so I get the snarky internal dialogue that way. And that's actually for a lot of them where you'll figure things out. The scenes that I shared didn't have a lot of didn't actually have any characters with internal AIs. Right, Sydney? And to be honest, it's what most people think of when you say bridge of a starship. They think of the Enterprise, so it's just always the Enterprise, or some other Federation starship. Sydney says, I'm so late. Hi, everyone. I was trying to get Facebook to make captions for my video ad, and captions wouldn't stop spinning. So I'm typing 5 lines in Notepad and make my own SRT file. Oh, that's cool, Sydney. Good for you. Bummer that they didn't actually make the captions. But that does happen sometimes where just stuff like that doesn't work. Um, yeah, it is. But like, so when you say you give talks on it, Len, you give talks about like writing, describing the setting and describing like what characters are feeling and that sort of thing. I'm guessing. Yeah, so it's probably a bug on Facebook's side then. Um, but it's like one of those things, like for better or for worse, I'm 124 books in. Like, I'm not going to change the way that I do this. Like the same. Like it's like, huh. I always will find myself wondering, like, if I change this and I wrote a closer third person narrative where you actually get a bit of the feel from the character, would it be easier to sell books? Would I get better read through? But then my existing readers really like how I write. Um, and so I don't want to write in a way that they don't like. It actually creates an interesting conundrum. Um, I have for a long time been thinking about doing a pen name where I actually write other type of books entirely, where I write a closer third person narrative, or possibly even first person. I do have a few first person books out, and those ones have a much closer narrative, obviously, because it's first person. Mr. Ruins, every ballroom has a polished floor and some candles. I'm done. I don't forget to describe it. I don't describe it on purpose. Um, like this is a 160,000 word book. Imagine how long this book would be if I actually described setting. Yeah. And I write my thing that I realized that sort of started this all for me was I wrote my first book out system. Well, not the first book I published. Um, I wrote all the action scenes. I wrote like all of the like the snappy high intensity scenes, and anything that just sort of like didn't feel exciting to me, I just left out and never wrote it. And that book did really well. And I realized actually that I have a hard time writing the slower bits. I think this is one of the hardest parts for me writing this book is that it's full of a lot of slower bits. It's a less action packed series or book than most of the other books that I've written in this in the universe. Um, and I worry that it would be slower if I added a lot of description. See you later, Dharma. Have a good Friday the 13th. That's pretty funny, Sydney. Sydney says the other day, cover designer asked me about the character's hair color. She was in 3 books, and I never said her hair cover, but I knew what she looked like. I actually 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 characters I've described their hair color. A lot of the characters, the main character's hair color is on the cover of the book, and I'll never describe it. I'll never even mention it. Jessica's gets mentioned because she's purple. Tannis is blonde. I think I actually mentioned she has blonde hair once or twice. Um, I think I might have mentioned Rika's hair color once, and she's in 10 books. I have like 5,000 or more at this point named characters, and I would be willing to bet that 4,995 of them do not have physical descriptions. Maybe 4,990. There might be a couple of guys that have physical descriptions. Yeah, there's like 5 of the guys. And Yusuf. Yusuf has ridiculous, overwrought physical descriptions because he's this big, burly Marine. But if you catch him off duty, he's wearing a Speedo like all the time. So there's a lot of physical descriptions of poor Yusuf. Um, so yeah. Um, Thanks, Sydney. The other thing that both of the current editors have reported back thus far, or sent not reported back, but sent back samples thus far, both pointed out is I'm like weird with how I tag my dialogue. I think part of it is like after writing so many books, I'm just like I'm tired of tagging dialogue like this. I'm going to try something new, and then I start doing the new thing, and I forget that I've already done it like 75 times, and I do it about 75 more times, and the editor's like, "Dear God, Mal, can you stop doing this already?" I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm bored with all the other ways, and I forgot that this wasn't as new as I thought it was. It's like one of my I'm sure all editors I've worked with are like, man, Mal, you can't keep your ticks consistent. You like do this tick or that you do this thing for a while and then you find a new thing and you just do that. Like you have no stupid repetitive things that you do? And I'm like, no, there's always gonna be a few of them. Because I forget that I just did it like 5 minutes ago and I do it again. Because it hasn't entered my long-term memory yet. But it's not my short-term memory either that I've done this thing. It's like it's in limbo. It's in the amygdala, making its way back to long-term memory. There's a traffic jam there. It's slow, so 5 minutes after I do anything, I have no memory of the fact that I've done it. I'll remember again in 15 minutes, but 5 minutes after, forget about it. It's gone. And that's just how my brain works, unfortunately. So yeah, but yeah, I'm with you right there, Sydney, on things like character, hair color. Like I've got no clue. And I think part of the thing too is I knew I was building this massive universe. And if I started describing people in too much detail, I would be screwed, right? Because like I'm never going to remember. The other thing too is I'm writing people sometimes over the course of decades. My mainest of main characters, some of them have been around now for like Phineas, um, 6,000 years. Like you know what? Phineas probably hasn't changed his haircut in 6,000 years, but there are other characters that have that are maybe only like 1,000 years old. They've definitely changed a lot. They've changed everything about themselves. They've reinvented themselves many times. So it's like people are like, oh, well, you said they had blonde hair. I'm like, yeah, people fucking dye their hair. Like It happens. They died. If it was me, I could have a different hair color one day to the next. It's crazy town over here. So yeah. So all of this to say that editing books for me is probably a giant pain in the butt. Uh, And the other thing I didn't share with any of the editors is exactly where in the book these samples are from. They're not actually from the beginning of the book. Well, one of them is actually. One of them's like halfway through the book. Um, so it's always tricky with me because I just sort of like I just dump characters in the reader's lap all the time. Um, and they're like, you remember this character? They were like 7 books ago. No, there's actually a foreword in the book that actually describes it, and the editors didn't get that, so they didn't have that bit of information. Character lost an eye. Did they say which eye? No, not in 3 books. All right, I like it, Len. I'm down with that. I'm hip. However, this is the end, I think, of Mal's rambly Friday the 13th um, lunch with Mal, because we were doing writing sprints. Same. If you're on YouTube, it's gonna be in the same place. Well, it might be in the same place. It's gonna be on the Mallory Cooper channel on YouTube. Some people might be watching on a different channel. Um, in 15 minutes, I'm gonna be doing writing sprints. So I'll have that going on. So if you guys, anybody wants to join for writing sprints, you can totally do that. I'm gonna make them public for everybody. So a lot of times they're just people in our group, but this time they're public for everybody. Write for 15 minutes, and then I yammer for 5, and then we write for another 15 minutes, and it's fun. So I'm going to call it. Thanks, Len. I enjoy doing the ramble. Now, please, do I click on engaged view for video ad? I don't know what engaged view is. Where are you seeing that? Oh, cool, Monique. I don't. Nothing comes to mind as a place that's called engaged view. What page are you on? Where is it? What? I need some context here. It's still not helping me. I would need to like, is this a campaign page, the ad set page, the ad page? Which section of the page is it in? There's a lot of places something like that could be. Generally speaking, if Facebook asks you to do a thing to make your ads work better, don't do it. Like their recommendations are always terrible. So, yeah, if you don't remember, I'm not going to remember either. But it's generally my answer is if Facebook suggested you do a certain thing with your ads, the answer is don't do it, because they don't measure objectives the same way we do. Yeah, screenshots in school will be good too, Sydney. All right, I'm going to split because I got to do necessary things before I sit down for 2 hours to sprint. So I will see you guys then. Or anybody's coming, I'll see you then. And for everybody else, have yourselves a fabulous Friday and a great weekend. Ciao.